And so if we can't rethink about the way that we're doing things with technology and without to provide that answer, they are going to go to ChatGPT or go.
Welcome to Power Up Your Practice. I'm your host, Ruby Powers, a law firm owner and law practice management consultant, author, podcaster, and adjunct professor. Each week, I'm so excited to invite other guests on to be able to learn from the inspiring minds and share practical tips so that we can all work smarter, serve our clients even better, and grow our firm. But after all, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. So let's power up together and continue to create the law firm and the life you deserve. Welcome back, everybody. This is Ruby Powers with Power Up Your Practice, and today we've got Mitch Zoll. He is the founding attorney of Zoll firm. He's the current chair-elect of the Computer and Technology section of the State Bar of Texas, and he helps small businesses. And he's a wealth of knowledge. I'll go ahead and give more of a bio about himself, but we met, I don't know, was it at ABA Tech Show through mutual friends? Is that how?
No, State Bar meeting in Houston a couple of years ago. I think you were outside, just had left a session.
Oh, was it Houston or Dallas?
Oh, they all blend together.
Yeah, they all blend together. Okay. But we have some mutual friends like Patrick Wright and Brett and Mark Unger and some other usual suspects. And so today we want to talk about TLTF because we're both going to be attending. So this is recorded literally the day before we drop this. And then also you have a conference that you'll help organize, the Computer and Technology sections, 9th Annual Technology and Justice for All. And then you have some other articles and some musings about technology. So we're both geeks in this space. So we're going to just have fun and see where we go. So Mitch, just tell us a little bit more about yourself and we'll go ahead and get started.
Sure. So I'm chair-elect Computer and Technology section. I'm an attorney here in Austin. I have worked for the big firms, worked a little bit of government law, but now I am a true solo. So technology is both an interest and a lifeblood to my practice. And in that space, I help form and buy and sell companies, kind of advise them, take a consulting approach to helping businesses kind of from their original starting point to when it's time to ultimately sell and go and hang out on the beach.
Well, and those are all important skill sets, especially for us law firm owners, to make sure that we're preparing our firms for sale and optimize value. But I digress. We want to talk tech. So I don't know why I was talking to you. That sounds bad. I was talking. We were connecting because and listeners, he's been on the show before, so we're not doing the usual thing we normally do. But and actually, you were on the episode with Bo Atkins, and we were talking about how to get ready for ABA Tech Show, and so we realized this is almost like part 2. We're talking about how we're getting ready for TLTF, and also about your conference you have this week, and how it's still people could register if they want to, and just sort of like how some of these things differ from ABA Tech Show, but also sort of the lay of the land and what's going on in the space right now. So let's go to TLTF first. So I had been seeing posts online. I was like, what is this thing? This looks cool. Ooh, invite only. No, I really want to go. And Miami, woo, wow. And then I realized some of my friends who I'd interviewed or ABA Tech Show connections were attending. And I was like, what is this mysterious thing? What is this? And then I got asked to participate this year. And that's why I'm literally in your conference room right now here in Austin. And I'm going to go to the women's networking event later on tonight. But anyway, so what do we know about TLTF and who goes to it and why do they go to it?
So you found about TLTF the same way I sort of did. It happened to be in Austin this year, and I was looking at a great resource of all the different legal technology conferences coming up. And I always have that half dream of like, what's in Vegas so I can make a trip to Vegas. So before I got that, I found this one in Austin. So I clicked through, and it was the fantastic lineup. They're really looking to try and build this as an opportunity to build, to network, to have discussions and make connections with folks in the industry. And when I started looking at who went, I think Bob Ambrosie's got a great couple of articles in the last couple of years. He's been, I think it's the 4th annual, and they move around, so it's not always in Austin. But it just feels like it's a great mashup of academics, the bigger firms, kind of market moving VC teams, and companies kind of in various stages of funding and growth. So they're all coming together to kind of have panel discussions, breakouts, and discuss some of the issues that are addressing that ecosystem. And being someone who's interested in technology, you and I have had a lot of time visiting with Tech Show, and Tech Show is sort of the doers. I always think of it, the people on the ground. So the solo and small firm people there are like-minded. They are coming to learn how to take a tool or an opportunity back to their practice. And also the vendors are there to engage with them to tell them what's on the marketplace. This seemed to be the other side of the ecosystem, where it's the academics, the bigger firms, and the different side of this same problem. It's really interesting to see some of the topics in the panels because they sound really similar to what we've seen in other conferences. So I'm really looking forward to hearing how they address the issue, and they bring up the issue coming from an entirely different place in the law firm sphere.
Yeah, and I think everyone might have a different objective, exact specifically, but I think one thing that most people have in common, what I'm gathering, is like just build connections that they can later take and make synergies and see what can come of it. And so, I mean, they usually call it like the Davos of legal tech. So, I mean, they say like don't go to the sessions, like I don't know, have meetings, like, or if it when in doubt, have a meeting, have an organic conversation and let that be what you do, as opposed to just feeling like you have to go to all the sessions. And I think for me, so I'm sort of like a weird situation. Like I'm a consultant, I'm a podcaster, I'm an author, I'm an adjunct professor. I'm actually a practitioner of a small mid-sized business law firm. I'm also starting to do legal tech investing. So I feel like I've got a lot of different things I'm going for, looking for affiliates or sponsorship for the podcast, ways to help promote the book, and just find other collaboration opportunities. So I think I'm going to not think too much about it. I think I'm going to just like go with the flow. I made a lot of connections on LinkedIn before. A lot of people, I think that's another conference, hack, tell people you're going, connect with people in advance so that you can sort of open up that conversation, sort of grease the wheels of like, hey, I'll be there. When we said some of the similar things on how to get ready for ABA Tech Show, but I think for me, and this is also one of the first conferences I'm going to, I'm not speaking at, so I don't have to be like, oh, I can relax after that. It's the conference, that speech, So in what capacity and what are you looking for to get out of TLTF?
So I'm really trying to come with my section hat on. We looked at the demographics of the computer and technology section, and our group actually cuts across all of the demographics of Texas lawyers because we are a subject-based, kind of a practice-based versus family law or business law or real estate law. We cut across so many different cross sections that I'm coming to try and kind of meet the thinkers, meet the doers, and see what I can bring back to the section to do a CLE, do a presentation, or share a resource that I can help answer the questions that our members are having that cuts across from solo to big firm of how are people doing legal tech.
And I should go deeper into what I'm looking for too. It's, I'm looking at it from being on the ABA Tech Show board. What can I learn from this conference that I could take to ABA Tech Show or to other conferences I help organize, or like you're doing, like resources, speakers for my class, speakers for webinars, speakers for other tech or anything, collaboration of some sort. So I agree. Like, I think that's why I'm sort of like need to make a little cheat sheet. Like, okay, what are all the things I would like to do and try to, just what I'm looking for. And then I've also talked to a couple of my friends who are either going or not going and say, what are you looking for and what can I keep an eye out for you as well? So, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be great. And I Yeah, I'm not going to say what I said this morning because I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and say it. I was like, I feel like I'm a sophomore going to a senior event, like, because my son's in high school. So I'm like thinking about like high school things. And I was like, but then I was like, wait a minute. I know a lot of these people. I've had them on my podcast. I've had them teach my class. Like I've seen them at ABA Tech Show or all the tech conferences I've been going to. I was like, I don't know a lot of the big law people, but I do. I am connecting with the professors and other thought leaders in that space, um, and the legal tech uh, podcasters and reporters and media. So anyway, it's starts with some events starting on Tuesday, the 11th, and then really gets going on Wednesday, the 12th, all day the 13th, and half of the 14th, which I don't know what else we want to talk about TLTF, but I guess we'll go find out and maybe we'll have a debrief later. But what happens on the 14th of November, Mitch?
For the 14th, for anybody who's listening to this podcast, with still time to go in Austin, Texas, or who can get themselves to Austin, Texas, we've got the 9th annual Technology and Justice for All day long CLE. That is the day-long CLE put on by the Computer and Technology section. And it's at the State Bar building. It's fantastic content. Sally Pretorius, one of our fantastic CLE chairs, Liz Cantu, also one of our CLE chairs. They have worked tirelessly to put together a lineup of fantastic speakers who are really going to kind of cut right through it. It is the tangible how to implement some of these legal tech issues in our day-to-day practice. So if anybody is still within the sound of my voice, who can still hear it, if you want to learn more, you can go to
Clap
our
once.
website. You can go to our website, SBOT. .org. That's the Computer and Technologies website. Click on events, click on register, or just show on up and register in person. We'll make sure to find a chair for you. But it's a fantastic event. The other component of it, it's our 9th year. We have it as a mission to have outreach to access the justice folks and the legal aid folks. So we actually have a partnership with them where they're able to attend free of charge. We want to get this tangible knowledge in the hands of the folks that are helping Texans every day. And we have a lot of talk and a lot of opportunities to serve the citizens of Texas, their access to justice. And this is the way our section does it, by helping to make sure that these resources are available to the attorneys who are on the front line, helping through those initiatives.
So that is wonderful. So it's going to be at the Texas Law Center and starts at 8:30 and closes around 3:15 with your closing remarks, it looks like, as
Yep.
the incoming chair. And the president of the State Bar of Texas, Santos Vargas, who I actually saw this week, he's going to be kicking it off with the welcome. And then you have Sean Harrington, who's going to be speaking about custom GPTs, and then you got a really good lineup here. So I'm glad to help promote that.
We've got judges who are coming in to help kind of do views
Yeah.
from the bench. So a lot of tangible, actionable work that folks can take home to their practice. So if this beautiful weather is available, use that to roll the windows down as you drive down to downtown Austin and come visit us for this.
And for speaking as someone who drove from Houston to Austin today, it actually wasn't bad. It was pretty. I saw some cows. My reception was pretty good most of the time. There was plenty of gas stations along the way, like for soda and coffee. It was bringing me back to the old days. I haven't driven to Austin in forever, but it was fun. So, okay, now let's move over to some of the themes that we're seeing. You were telling me before that you have a few articles that are coming out, and just sort of like what you're seeing in this space, in this tech space. And like, I think you and I were also mentioning, like, it just feels like people are all over the place, because there's the ones who haven't even touched AI, and then the ones who are super more evolved. Like, I feel like in the last 3 years, it's created a huge divide, and it's almost like, when you and I are both organizing conferences in legal tech, it's really hard to figure out where people are and how to be helpful and what to be talking about. But like, I personally would like to be teaching at an intermediate to advanced level in many cases, depending on who my audience is. But anyway, what are some of the themes and some of the articles that you've been up to, and maybe we can go line by line.
Sure, a couple themes that I'm looking at. I'm on the Facebooks, the Reddits, the LinkedIn groups, and I see a lot of the kind of hand wringing, skies falling. We're all a little concerned about what is the future of our jobs, what does our industry hold for us. And there's actually the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs Report 2025 that has come out. They interviewed more than 1,000 global employers representing over 14 million workers across 22 industries. So this is not a legal industry report, but that's sort of why it's important, because it says that how is the market changing generally? The folks who are answering these surveys, they're our clients or the people who are buying our services as much as our competitors for the skills in the legal landscape. And basically what they're talking about is that over the next 5 years, so 2030, there will be 170 million jobs created, but the displacement is 92 million jobs removed. So there is a net gain, but a lot of churn that's coming out about the types of jobs that'll be changing. So that's big change. And it doesn't actually say lawyers are going away. So for those of you all who are concerned or happy about such an idea, that is not going to happen. But it does give hints to the way we're changing our jobs. Legal secretaries, legal admins, paralegals, those are on some of the more disrupted areas of this report. Again, it's not law firm specific, but it's tackling those areas. And it helps us understand what are the skill changes that we need and technology stack in the firms to see where the future of jobs are going. Lawyers aren't going anywhere, but the people who we work with and for are.
And I think one of the things I'm seeing is that, like, and I've done this with a lot of guests on my podcast, like, I think people are looking to not maybe hire more people on their team until they sort of figure out how to use the technology that exists more fully and equip existing team members before like bringing on new people and having to be like learning everything and teaching them and doing all of that all at the same time. Because it just creates a lot more work. Like even when I changed my case management software a couple of years ago, I told myself, I'm not hiring any more people because I want to see how efficient we can be once we get this new tech stack going. And then I'll add more people to it potentially, But yeah, that churn, I think that's what scares people, just change in general. Like someone said to me, we were talking about 529s and saving for our kids' college and stuff. And I was like, and someone's like, well, are they going to go to college? Will college exist? Like, I mean, they were getting all like existential on me. And I was like, well, yeah, I think so. I don't know. When I told my husband, he was like, of course they're going to go to college. And I was like, yeah, of course they're going to go to college. I don't know. But like, I mean, it's like what, how many, three to 5 years from now. So they're doing so many different predictions about what's going to happen in 5 years. So,
well, you've got it the right look. So the way the report's shaking out, it's administrative assistants, legal secretaries, data entry, that's going away. But what you should be looking at is your current skill set of your current employees to say, how can I add skills to what they already know so they can be more efficient in this next edition? So it's not necessarily dropping them and trying to bring somebody else new, because the knowledge that they hold is important to your firm. But if those entry level positions are going away, how can you move them up, I say up the intellectual chain? So it's not just keying in data. The systems are going to be able to do that without human intervention. But it's understanding the data, using the data, kind of getting the nuance of what's in there to be able to work on a case or work on a matter or work with a client. So it's about retraining and getting better skills of your current employees, not dropping them off and picking up somebody new. You'll just be creating more churn.
And I think one of the things I was just taking from what you said, or maybe I was thinking from prior conversations, is just like the need for more strategic thinking and like using your brain. I don't know. I don't know how many of us have like had team members where we're like, yeah, don't just do that thing because like you're like a robot. Like you have to, like I don't know. I feel like what what's going to happen is, I guess I must be passionate about something here, but basically, I think what it's probably going to be is like, if you can't use your critical thinking skills, then you're not going to be very useful, because that's what we're going to need to lean into. Like you're saying, like moving up the chain intellectually, or higher. I think a higher and best use of our time is just really where a lot of us, I feel like a lot of the conversations are going as well. So yeah, so I guess that's one theme.
Sure, and there's a baseline kind of pre-approach that we need to start thinking about, which I think we're going to get some talks at the TLTF conference. But how do we even look at the firm internally of how we reward, how we compensate? I think that we look at times at staff to say, hey, we want to start doing this automation. And the concern when you bring that to staff is they're worried about training the replacement. And I think what this suggests is they're not worried about training the replacement. They're worried about the idea that the systems you're going to be putting in place are the disincentive to what they currently have measured. So you've got a paralegal who has to charge in X number of hours per month. And now you're asking that paralegal, hey, but build a whole work system that's going to cut that in half. You're cutting out their incentive to do that work for you. So we need to have that first level of what are the goals that we have for our team members, and what are the skills we want them to provide the firm, and then compensate that to reward that, so they put that effort back into the firm. Because if we're asking a person who is only rewarded by the number of hours they generate to implement systems that'll help them generate fewer hours, it's never going to fit.
Yeah, so that's like a change in a paradigm. The goals are. This episode is sponsored by Candle AI, the legal email assistant that helps legal teams spend less time on client emails. You heard me right, spending less time on emails. Candle AI works with both Gmail and Outlook, so you don't have to learn a new tool. And then it connects with popular case management systems like Clio, Filevine, iNetSume, and more to come. It instantly shows you your case and the client details the moment you open a client email, and right inside your inbox. Then that means less context switching and time spent jumping to different tabs to figure out what you need to respond. Candle can also draft context-aware responses to client emails and makes it easy to create, edit, and manage your email templates. If you want to save time and take back control of your inbox, check out Candle AI. I highly suggest it. And I think along the lines of what you're saying, I heard somebody say that some firms or some people are afraid to mention that they're using AI to their boss because they don't want them to know how efficient they are, because they're afraid that the boss is going to realize they don't need to take as much time to do the thing, and like they won't need to hire them as much or something. But I think that's all part of the whole conversation. Like, we have to be like, okay, we want to encourage you to find more efficiencies, think outside the box, and learn these new skills. And we're going to collectively work together to find the best use of everybody's time, to better serve our clients and be more profitable and deliver the services more efficiently, more effectively, et cetera, et cetera. But like, it's a collective effort. But if the goal is disjointed or the message is not getting across, then I could see how that can cause a lot of rift and problems.
Yeah, if your staff is worried about coming to you that they found a better way to do something, that's a disconnect completely.
That's like a huge red flag of like your culture.
And it's just a missed opportunity. Law firm leaders and staff, both listening to this podcast, think, how can we continue to evolve and contribute, and find ways to further invest in that discussion.
So I think the other theme of another article you were mentioning was about adaptability and change. And I think that's like everywhere right now. I don't know if, like, it's sort of weird we were on the same wavelength, because I feel like I was telling my office manager today, I was like, so like I chose two careers simultaneously that are having rapid change: immigration and AI. Am I a glutton for punishment? Anyway. But anyway.
I'm kind of writing a tailing article about that I'm also kind of work on. It's the concept called the adaptability quotient. So we're all familiar with IQ, then it became EQ. And it was about 2010, it's the first article that I found that really talked about a measurable adaptability quotient. And what that is a true test or true inquiry into how good are you at dealing with and adapting to change. obviously something that's hitting our industry and all industries right now with AI and legal tech. But the question isn't just, are you smart and can you handle the stress? How much can you really look at, there's change coming. Can I reevaluate what I'm doing in a way to do it in a new system and do it better? And that's really a measure of some of the folks who are going to be the absolute most successful in this next setup. So whether you are an attorney, the managing partner, paralegal, legal assistant, you want people who have a really high adaptability quotient.
I love that. I can't believe I've never heard of adaptability quotient before this conversation. I was like, because I'm doing all these speeches about like resilience, adaptability. Somehow that escaped me, but I love it. And I think because I started my practice, well, I'll go back a little bit. I've moved around a lot as a kid. And my parents were not, I wasn't a military brat. Like, even though I grew up in San Antonio, that I don't even know if I like that expression, but anyway, like I think I went to like 10 or 12 schools by the time I graduated high school, maybe a little less. There were sometimes I didn't go to school. They sort of left us on a ranch in Mexico for a little bit. But anyway, I adapted. I adapted. And so when you're like, you always have to strike up a conversation, and then I was exchanged student to another country before internet was readily in our hands. And so I think all of those things sort of really suited me, so that when the recession happened in 2008, 9, 10, whatever, when I had to start my own practice, I had to figure it out. And I sort of had some of those skill sets. And then I think when the pandemic happened, or when I ran my law firm from Dubai, it was like, okay, I've got this. And like right now we're going through a lot in the immigration space, but I'm like trying to say I've got this, but it's tough. But anyway, I'm like, this AI stuff, I'll go talk about that. That's way more fun. But anyway, so does it tell you like how to be better at change? Because I'm reading a book about it right now, because I saw Daniel Pink recommended this book called How to Change. Sound really on point, by Katie Milkman, and it has the forward from Angela Duckworth, and it's the science of getting from where you are to where you want to be. So I'm only on chapter 1 right now, so I can keep telling you. I can tell you what happens. But one of the things I've gotten so far is that like when you are at a moment like the beginning of the year, or starting college, or graduating college, or getting married, or having a baby, like a big pivotal moment, it's like easier to change. And I think I see that too now. I think about it like every time I moved to a different country or different state, or did a different big life event, it's like, okay, we got to change. I mean, and I think when the environment changed, it was easier. But I think later in life, when you sort of get into a little bit of a autopilot, then it's a little harder to make those changes.
It's more kind of, it's supposed to cut across all different environments. So it's really the kind of individual's aptitude to handling ambiguity. So are you open to new experiences, your tolerance for ambiguity, your learning orientation, and willing to unlearn outdated methods?
Ooh,
That's a big one for our industry right there.
Yeah, major.
Yeah, that'll get you. Can you really look at something and say, this is the way I've always done it, but it's time to learn to do something different? And that's my big kind of internal battle with the industry of consultants who are helping folks kind of implement new technology. And I heard that, speaking of our friend Bo, I heard him on a podcast the other day. But a lot of times when consultants want to sit down with you with your new practice management system or something, they want to have the full week breakdown, whiteboard room meeting with how do you do what you currently do? And as Bo said, Henry Ford said, if you ask the people what they want, they would have said faster horses. And it's really a mind shift to say, look, we're in a new environment. These tools are totally new. Let's be adaptable and let's not lock ourselves into the old way. I said it's kind of like the partner in the corner who used to have the 3-foot high piles of paper, who was just scanned them in and put them onto his virtual desktop. It's the same disorganization and craziness, just not as defensive in a snowball fight. And we see a lot of attorneys do that. They just kind of throw them onto their system because they're complying with an obligation to digitize, but they're not learning a new system. So when we're implementing these things, can you be adaptable to say, I'm going to put the old way aside and learn a new way, which might take a little bit more time at the beginning, but will ultimately get me to a better space in the end?
Yeah, I love that. And I'm still, don't want to say this out loud, but I'm still finishing The Future of Professions by Richard Susskind and Daniel Susskind. But I mean, I'm always reading too many books at the same time. So just like, get over it. I guess I'm talking to myself, but anyway, but like, I'm just like, yeah, I mean, he's talking about like, just because you can automate doesn't mean that's the way we should look at it, or be faster, or, like we should be like, whoa, how could we reimagine the delivery of legal services, or really like, what do clients really need? And how can we meet them there? And then there's that whole conversation about the latent market and all of that. But like that's the conversation we need to be having. It's not about like eliminating the mundane necessarily, even though I do talk about that. But it's more about like how can we better solve the problems? Like I've heard Richard Susskind say something like, people don't go to doctors because they want doctors. They go there because they want health. And so it's like, why do we go to lawyers? I think I asked my law students this, and it was like they were puzzled. And I'm like, well, it's really to solve problems. But if they didn't have the problem or they could solve it on their own, they wouldn't come to us.
True. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
well, and another thing Boa said that our current model is not fit for. I think this is the time when you all were speaking at CleoCon, Bo's talk. What clients are really looking to lawyers for is certainty. Like, I'm coming to
Yeah.
you from a problem and I need to know the path to solution. And when you
Mhm.
turn around and say, well, the way we've always done this is we're going to charge you in tenth of an hour increments. And every time we think about you, we're going to charge you another $300. And it might even be in the shower in the drive through. I'm going to be thinking hard about your legal problem. And that'll be another $1,000. I'm not going so far as to saying there's no value there. I've had absolutely incredible moments on Mopac where I've solved the problem entirely. But that's not certainty for the client. And so if we can't rethink about the way that we're doing things with technology and without to provide that answer, they are going to go to ChatGPT or go without us, because now this is not like going from the typewriter to the computer, because at that point we still held the knowledge. Now everybody's got the knowledge, and it's about what you do with it that's going to be the differentiator.
I agree. And I sort of think about how like I seem to be at these different inflection points at these moments, like when the law firm, when the cloud was coming out, when people were going remote, the pandemic, and then now this rapid change of AI, and we were sort of mentioning like when you have when you have a small, mid-sized, small firm, you could rapidly adapt. You could, if you want to, if you have the mindset to do it.
Sure.
And when you're in a big firm, it's sort of like trying to move the evergreen or whatever it was called in the Panama Canal or something, like, or a cruise ship or something. It's like it takes, I mean, it's just like during the pandemic when they were trying to adapt at those times. And so, and I've heard this, I think you and I were talking about before this conversation, but actually the conversation I had before earlier, I got to your office, was like the big established legal tech for companies they're sort of like government organizations in a way. Like it takes a while to get them to adapt and change. And then there's all these little pop-up AI companies that are coming. They're so nimble, and there's vibe coding. And anyway, I think I'm sort of taking a turn on the conversation here, but like, there's just like there's even the tech companies are having to adapt to change, and everything that's going on right now.
Well, the biggest concern is so many of these tech companies are being nimble and adapting their marketing. But when you actually look at the product's not there. Products don't change that fast. And so a lot of times the hardest part for the practicing lawyer or law firm owner is to get past the marketing to say, is the industry chasing what you think we want because somebody else came up with this tool and now they're all going through that? Or are you really solving problems in a new way?
Yeah. No, I agree. And things are just moving really quickly. And like, for example, do you really want a tool that can better capture your time for billing if maybe we're going to get rid of hourly billing? I'm just like, does it make sense to build that? I don't know. Maybe it does for now until people, or maybe you're going to still keep track of your time to see how much time it takes to do things, to try to be more efficient. But like to build a tool for something that maybe becomes an obsolete situation, function that we not need as much anymore.
If you look at it for its current function, correct. But if you look at it for that adaptability, what can I do differently with this? We as an industry have more data than I would say any other industry, because I'm being hyperbolic, but we have more data about how long something should take and the steps to take it that we do absolutely nothing with. The mainstay of our industry is in 0.1 increments of time and task. And yet, as an industry, we have no idea how long something takes. And that disconnect is really difficult.
And I forgot what your third article was, or if we've sort of covered it, but we were also talking about how sometimes people in leadership in your firm, in a firm, might be so disconnected from the administrative tasks that they might not really understand what their team members are doing, and or not feel the pain point, or like not be asking the right questions when they're evaluating a tech stack, and sort of just thinking, how can we be more efficient? How can we imagine the client experience?
Well, I've been in big firm environments before, and also helped friends who were in big firm environments. So looking at those experiences, the people who are writing the checks are not the people who are doing the daily time entries and tasks. That's just something that is not the highest and best use of time. But when you're trying to bring a problem to them, logically, their first step is, hey, let's talk to a bunch of people and see what everybody needs and everybody does. And what you get is an absolute committee product of every individual lawyer who says, well, what I need is, what I need. And it's pockets of that come up with a complete kind of mashup of what everybody said they thought they needed, rather than a really narrow drive of what they should have. And it's just nature of committee work. And if you have more than one person making a decision, you get more than one opinion. That's where it's going to go. And so those tools are very different than a solo small firm who says, I need a solution to track my email. The next day, you get a solution to track your email. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, you turn it back off. So it's a totally different edge of the bell curve. But these two groups need to start talking, because at the end of the day, we're doing the same stuff.
I completely agree. And like when I was changing my case management software, or even all the stuff we do in our firm, I feel like we're sort of like a beta testing ground for legal tech companies, because I sort of like wear two hats. Like I'm a practicing attorney, and I really think about it from these perspectives. And I've talked to so many people in this space, but I find like what I use technology for is different than my legal assistant, which is different. My marketing team, my billing team, my reception team. So it's sort of like, is it the five blind men and the elephant thing, where like they see the tail, the ear, the trunk, or I don't know, and they all have like a different perspective of what's really going on. And anyway, I think this is all of what we just said is really like what's confusing and conflating and just overwhelming this conversation, depending on where you are in the conversation. And I think it's hard to just sit back and reimagine how we can better provide the client experience and provide the services. And you said something earlier about how you think that we're not going to see the death of the billable hour until we see some other significant changes. What's your opinion on that?
This is the opinion from the corner of Mitch's office that doesn't talk to anybody. But I think one of the things that is holding up the billable hour is simply just so much of our industry is based on firms that are involved in litigation, and courts themselves are not looking at what is reasonable and necessary and how technology changes that dynamic, and saying, hey, as a judicial fact finder, as someone whose opinions will be written, studied, and followed by other lawyers, we need the courts also to be educated to say, that's not reasonable and necessary for you to spend that much time on that task. And my kind of lead in is, if someone were to submit a time sheet to say, 1 hour writing motion with quill and ink, 2 hours typing motion from quill and ink to typewriter, and then, kind of going through that old Ebenezer Scrooge-esque, on the big writing desk by candlelight, we would laugh them out of the courtroom. They're saying there's no way that you can submit this time entry. Why is it different for legal tech? Simply because it's this box that no one's making the next step to understand. If someone says they spend 3 hours drafting an answer, no, you really don't. There's a couple of gates you have to check to make sure you file a good answer. But for a state court matter, general denial, you're getting in the door. There are some affirmative defenses you got to check, and then you get it done. And at some point, our industry needs to look at the data and say, is that really the amount of time that it's taking? Or do we need the judges to start saying, look, I'm going to write this opinion down, and I'm going to tell you that's not reasonable and necessary. And then our industry will have the incentive to look back and go, okay, they're grading our papers differently. What do we need to change to be more responsive to what a finder of fact is telling us is not reasonable or necessary?
And when you said that to me, I was like sort of baffled because I don't really look at the world from that perspective. Like immigration is mostly flat fee. I don't get any fees or have to explain my fees to an immigration judge. Maybe for federal litigation, but that's a small portion of my practice. For like EJA fees or something like that. I would just be. I find that an interesting perspective because I'm thinking if I charge the same for a flat fee and I can do it in 2 minutes versus like an hour, then of course, like why don't we get to the 2 minutes to do the same quality of work as soon as possible? That would be my incentive for the profitability, and then also sort of like reimagining how maybe I could serve more people with less staff or quicker or faster, or I don't know, it sort of goes into that mindset again. But like, I think the sooner I can get to that mindset, then the sooner I can sort of think, okay, these are the tools and this is how I'm able to do things. Maybe I can reimagine the delivery of services and the whole experience and hitting up the latent market. But I'm not waiting for a judge to give me incentive.
Well, true, but so much of our industry is kind of baked there and in that corner that it's not, one or two lawyers in the corner. It's a substantial part of the industry, which is why it's there. You see on Facebook all the time, the flat fee Facebook groups, the lawyer on the beach groups, people going, I have no idea how to get to flat fees. A couple of our sessions this week, hey, here's this brand new idea of subscription and flat fees and something you might not have thought before. That goes back a decade of people talking about that. And there has to be some sort of reason why that hasn't changed. Part of it is the adaptability, but also part of the industry. Now, judges and lawyers, the other side, are going to start inquiring, hey, I've got tools that can do that. Why did you get that much time that you're trying to penalize my client? And then the clients are starting to look that up. The clients are going to ask ChatGPT, how long should this take? ChatGPT will be wrong. But at some point, you need to come back and be able to say, this is how long it actually took. And we did everything we could to be efficient in creating this product for you.
Okay, Mitch, I really wanted to find a way to bring this news item into the interview today, but I think you just gave it to me.
There you go.
The Kim Kardashian news item for the week.
Poor Kim Kardashian.
I'm sorry, Kim. But sorry.
I stopped paying attention when.
But did you see?
I did.
Did you see what I'm talking about? Okay.
Yeah, she did not have success in the bar, and she used ChatGPT as a study guide.
And then she blamed ChatGPT for giving the wrong answers.
No, I didn't click the article.
Okay.
I got the headline, and I'm like, I got.
You're bragging. I didn't go into the clickbait. No.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's tough stuff. I think the bigger question is it shows you that people are going to this resource regardless. And we've got to figure out how to combat it. I was talking with some other lawyers, I represent small businesses, and they're bringing me pre-drafted contracts that are clearly ChatGPT drafted. And they want me to refine and approve versus draft. And I'm like, guys, there's like 6 different documents in here. You would never part this part with that. And so I actually spend 2 or 3 hours educating them on why you don't want this in there and what the downstream effect of that would be. And I saw they were kind of going, well, I didn't know. And I'm like, I'm fine with my clients using ChatGPT because I want them to come with more questions and answers answered before they get to me. But but theoretically, my experience should mean something. But yeah, I just think Kim should just log in on the bar exam with the bar pre-prep, like all of us had to do. She was closest than she's ever been. So maybe the article isn't the right spin. She said she's got closer to graduating than she ever had. So maybe it's helping her more than not.
Yeah, we wish her the best, Kim. We wish you the best. No, but it's just the headline about a combination of things of relying on it, blaming it, using it, just also like how people are using it. And like you said, coming to their attorneys with a laundry list of questions or double checking what their attorney tells them and all of those things. So we're already seeing it sort of in the headlines as well. And yeah, it was just a fun antidote for the week.
There's I presented this the other day at another presentation, but there was an article I came across, small sample size, but it was an MIT study. And basically they measured the brain waves of participants while using ChatGPT, Google, or straight traditional research methods. And the MIT study, although it was a small sample, which basically said is your brain on ChatGPT, accumulation of cognitive debt. So shorthanded for you, a 206-page article. Basically, we turn our brains off when we're using ChatGPT. Like the measured brain waves go dark. So I am in this big fight with the folks, and if anyone sees me present in person, you'll hear me say this. I'm done with the trust but verify. That's not the test anymore. Because what happens is people's brains are off. And so verify looks like that looks right. And there was an Inc. magazine article saying that like 92% of people don't push back on ChatGPT and don't check the answers. So you've got people who are completely turning their brains off, asking ChatGPT to do case law research, and then saying, but verify, your brain's off. You're not going to do it. So I always say, for all the things that ChatGPT can do your research on your own first. Read the cases first, and then go to the LLMs. But don't try to trust but verify because your brain's turned off.
Are you feeling overwhelmed by all the different things you have to do to run a law firm? Well, you're not alone. So many law firm owners are in the same boat. That's where Staffy steps in. More than 90 firms, just like yours, are leaning on their bilingual virtual staff for legal, administrative, marketing, and client-facing work, plus their full HR support. I currently have 11 team members with Staffy across my own firm and Power Strategy Group, and it's been a total game changer. Schedule a free initial consultation at staffy.cc, that's stafi.cc, and use the code RUBY, RUBY, for $500 off. You know, I was just thinking where this is coming from, but I think it was Jack Newton on an interview on Lawyerist, I think is where I heard this, where he was saying like the history of how we just took what we found on Google searches as gospel. And that's really where we get this trust thing. And so then when we're going to the LLMs, whichever, taste, whatever your fancy is, like our innate nature is to trust it, sort of like we've been taught through our journey with the internet since like the 90s or whatever, for mainstream people, to just believe it. And so I hope I'm attributing him to the right source. I don't know. I listen to so much stuff. Sometimes I get it all mixed up, but basically, I was like, oh, that's a good point. Cause like we give the hallucinations story people a hard time, but like, and you're talking about the trust but verify, but like, and then you're saying the stat about a lot of people don't double check anything. And I think that's a really good point we need to get across, because like our kids or somebody using ChatGPT, like they're not worried about presenting a case that could be hallucinated to a judge. They're just a kid. But like if they rely on that information to be like, oh, that's real, and then that's wrong or something like that. So I think that critical thinking skills again, and just sort of like double checking things and questioning, it's just where you need to lean into more of that humanness, I guess you could say.
You really shouldn't be using LLMs and AI in any area where you're not the expert, if it needs expert analysis. So if you can't look at a summary of a case and go, ooh, that's not right, without independently looking at it, then it's not the time to use it. Now, I'm writing an article. Give me 10 sample headlines or titles of this article. Perfect use for ChatGPT, because everything you need to know about what you want out of that is right in front of you. So when it doesn't need to, I always jokingly say, when ChatGPT doesn't need to know anything, perfect use. But when you're trying to use it as an information source, basically it's gambling and you're set up for failure.
Lots to take in there, Mitch. Well, we covered a lot of territory. I mean, we crammed it all in there. So I think we should go to the conference. It's
Absolutely.
yeah. So how can people find you and connect and keep the conversation going?
Sure. I would love for you all to drop your pen, grab your keys, come on up to Austin, Texas, and visit us on Friday for our 9th annual Computer and Technologies Access to Justice for All CLE, where we'll be talking about these issues more. You can find me on Instagram, where I'm still learning how to post at zoll.law. Hope getting me a bunch of subscribers. I don't know what to do with Instagram, but I'm trying to learn. Where you can find me on LinkedIn.
Well, you're working on that adaptability quotient. So
Absolutely.
kudos to you. Well, thanks everyone for listening. We're going to go out there to TLTF and to Mitch's conference on Friday here in Austin. And thanks for listening to our musings. And what do you think? Love to have a conversation. Feel free to comment and listen to our podcast. And if you enjoyed the conversation, give us a like, tell other people about it. If you think you'd be a great guest, let me know. And thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Take care.